Not every episode of The Andy Griffith Show ends in laughter. This one ends in silence. Barney Fife returns to Mayberry expecting a joyful reunion with old friends, and maybe, just maybe, a second chance with Thelma Lou. But reality has other plans, and what Barney discovers shatters him instantly. Don Knotts said more with his face in this scene than most actors say in an entire episode. It's the moment that split fans into two camps forever. What really happened at that reunion? And why does this banned episode still haunt viewers decades later? Stay tuned to find out. The story before the fame. Long before Andy Samuel Griffith became one of the biggest television stars of his generation, his life began in circumstances that couldn't have been more humble. Born in June 1926 to Carl and Geneva Griffith, Andy grew up in the small town of Mount Airy, North Carolina, where money was painfully scarce. His parents struggled so much financially that for a time they had no choice but to leave him in the care of relatives. Even after he returned home, life was far from comfortable. Eventually, his father saved enough money to buy a house, but there was almost nothing inside it. The family couldn't even afford a proper crib, so Andy's first bed was a dresser drawer that had been turned into a makeshift cradle. It was a simple beginning that gave little hint of the remarkable future waiting ahead. As he got older, Andy found comfort in music. It became an escape from the hardships of everyday life and gradually opened the door to a talent he never knew he possessed. By most accounts, he was a quiet and shy boy who rarely drew attention to himself. Growing up on what many considered the wrong side of the tracks, he often tried to blend into the background, but everything changed once he discovered he had a gift for entertaining people. Making his classmates laugh gave him a confidence he had never felt before, and for the first time, he wasn't trying to hide. He was looking for a stage. Throughout high school, Andy immersed himself in drama and music, developing the skills that would later define his career. Along the way, one person had an especially profound influence on him, Ed Mickey, a minister at his church. Mickey taught Andy how to play musical instruments, helped him strengthen his singing voice, and became an important mentor. In fact, his guidance almost led Andy down a completely different path. After graduating in 1944, Andy enrolled at the University of North Carolina with plans to study theology and become a Moravian minister. It seemed like a natural choice given Mickey's influence, but before long, another calling proved impossible to ignore. Instead of the pulpit, Andy chose the stage, eventually graduating with a degree in music. His years at UNC were filled with opportunity. He became president of the university's chapter of Phi Mu Alpha Sinfonia, one of the nation's oldest and most respected music fraternities, while also starring in student productions of The Mikado, The Gondoliers, and HMS Pinafore. It was becoming increasingly clear that performing wasn't simply a hobby. It was where he truly belonged. Even so, stardom didn't arrive overnight. After college, Andy took a much quieter path, spending several years teaching music and drama at Goldsboro High School in North Carolina. He proved to be an inspiring teacher, and one of his students, Carl Cassell, would later become one of the most recognizable voices on NPR. At that point, it almost looked as though Andy had set aside any dreams of becoming a performer himself. In 1949, he married Barbara Bray Edwards, and together they adopted 2 children. Their family experienced both joy and heartbreak over the years. Their marriage eventually ended in divorce in 1972, and decades later, their son Sam tragically lost his life after struggling with addiction. Through every high and low, however, Andy never lost the warmth and humor that made him so naturally likable. Ironically, the performance that first made him famous didn't appear on television at all. It came from a record. In 1953, Andy released a comedy monologue called What It Was Football. The routine followed a small-town preacher trying to understand the chaos of a college football game, and audiences couldn't get enough of it. Its homespun humor resonated across America, sending the recording all the way to number 9 on the charts and introducing Andy Griffith to millions of people. That unexpected success opened doors almost immediately, leading him first to television and then to Broadway. His breakthrough came with No Time for Sergeants, After starring in the 1955 television production, Andy took the role of Will Stockdale to Broadway, where his performance as a cheerful country boy struggling through Air Force life earned rave reviews. Critics praised his effortless comedic timing and natural charisma, while audiences embraced him from the moment he stepped onto the stage. As one reviewer famously observed, Andy barely had to say a word to win over a crowd. Simply walking on stage was enough. The performance earned him a Tony Award nomination in 1956, although the award ultimately went to Ed Begley. It was the first of several occasions when Andy would come close to winning Broadway's highest honor without taking home the trophy. Still, he did receive the Theatre World Award for Outstanding Broadway Debut, a recognition that confirmed he was becoming one of the industry's brightest new talents. His next breakthrough came from an unexpected direction. Director Elia Kazan was searching for the perfect lead for A Face in the Crowd when Andy immediately caught his attention. Kazan believed Andy possessed an authentic quality that couldn't be manufactured, making him the ideal choice for the role. Ironically, it was also one of the most difficult performances of Andy's career. Playing the manipulative and explosive Larry Lonesome Rhodes required him to portray a personality that was completely opposite his own. Andy was naturally warm, gentle, and eager to get along with everyone. According to Kazan, bringing out the character's darker side wasn't easy, especially during the film's emotional climax. Fortunately, Andy proved he was far more versatile than anyone had imagined. When No Time for Sergeants was adapted into a feature film in 1958, Andy once again returned as Will Stockdale, marking the third time he had played the same character across radio, television, Broadway, and film. More importantly, the movie introduced him to Don Knotts. Their chemistry was immediate, beginning one of television's greatest friendships and comedy partnerships. Even with his growing success, Andy continued searching for the next chapter of his career. In 1959, he returned to Broadway for Destry Rides Again, starring opposite Dolores Gray. Once again, audiences loved him, and once again, Tony voters looked elsewhere, this time honoring Jackie Gleason instead. Then came the setback that nearly changed everything. Fresh off several successful projects, Andy starred in the 1958 film Onionhead, expecting it to carry his career to even greater heights. Instead, the movie became a major disappointment, failing with both critics and audiences. The experience left such a lasting impression that Andy seriously questioned whether Hollywood was where he belonged, so he made a bold decision. Rather than continue chasing movie roles, he stepped away from Hollywood entirely. As it turned out, that decision would change his life forever. Behind Andy's biggest success. After stepping away from Hollywood, Andy Griffith found himself back where his career had first begun, television. It turned out to be the decision that would change everything. His return came through an episode of Make Room for Daddy, where he played a small-town sheriff named Andy Taylor. The episode served as a backdoor pilot for what would eventually become The Andy Griffith Show, but anyone expecting the warm, wise sheriff audiences would later fall in love with might be surprised by this first version of the character. The story begins when Danny Thomas drives through the quiet town of Mayberry and accidentally runs a stop sign. Sheriff Taylor quickly pulls him over and issues a fine. At first, it seems like a routine traffic stop. Then things take an unexpected turn. After realizing Danny is a successful entertainer with plenty of money, Sheriff Taylor increases the fine without hesitation. Furious, Danny threatens to report him to the Justice of the Peace, only to discover that Andy holds that position as well. Hoping to expose the corruption, Danny turns to the local newspaper, only to learn that Andy also serves as editor of the Mayberry Gazette. In this early version of Mayberry, Sheriff Taylor has almost complete control over the town. Thankfully, by the episode's conclusion, the two men settle their differences, laying the foundation for what would soon become one of television's most beloved sitcoms. As the series developed, Andy Taylor evolved into a much kinder, fairer, and more approachable character, and that version is the one audiences would embrace for generations. While life in fictional Mayberry looked peaceful on screen, things behind the scenes weren't always quite so harmonious. Andy Griffith loved keeping the atmosphere light. Between takes, he and much of the cast enjoyed singing, joking, and pulling harmless pranks on one another. but not everyone appreciated that playful environment. Frances Bavier, who portrayed Aunt Bee, preferred a far more professional set. She disliked practical jokes and rarely joined the musical gatherings that often broke out during filming. Her serious approach frequently put her at odds with the rest of the cast, especially Andy. One incident became especially memorable. During the filming of Mayberry RFD, George Lindsay, who played Goober Pyle, was using coarse language on set. Bavier found it so offensive that she reportedly struck him with her umbrella. Moments like that reflected the growing tension between her and several cast members, particularly Griffith, who never seemed able to earn her approval. Years after the series ended, Andy Griffith and Ron Howard decided to visit Bavier at her home in North Carolina, hoping to reconnect. Instead of receiving a warm welcome, they were turned away at the door. The rejection left Griffith genuinely confused. It wasn't until much later, after Bavier became seriously ill, that she reached out to apologize for the distance she had kept between them over the years. Despite those occasional conflicts, one relationship on the show remained unshakable. When the Andy Griffith Show first began, Andy naturally assumed he would be its primary source of comedy. It didn't take long for him to realize otherwise. After watching Don Knotts' work, he recognized that his best friend possessed extraordinary comic timing. Rather than competing for laughs, Andy wisely embraced the role of the straight man, allowing Barney Fife's hilarious personality to shine. Ironically, that partnership almost ended sooner than expected. Andy had originally believed the series would last only 5 seasons, and he encouraged Knotts to plan accordingly. Trusting his friend, Knotts signed a movie contract elsewhere. When the network decided to continue the show beyond its 5th season, there was little anyone could do. Barney Fife became only an occasional guest star instead of a full-time cast member. Looking back years later, Andy held no bitterness. He often described those first 5 seasons with Don Knotts as some of the happiest years of his entire career. Not every on-screen relationship enjoyed that same natural chemistry. During the first season, Eleanor Donahue played Andy Taylor's girlfriend. Although both actors gave professional performances, the romance never truly connected with audiences. Donahue later admitted she never felt much chemistry between them, while Andy confessed that displaying romantic affection on camera simply wasn't something that came naturally to him. Ironically, real life proved far more complicated. Following his divorce from Barbara Bray Edwards, Andy married Greek actress Solika Kasuto in 1973. Their marriage lasted until 1981, although very little has ever been publicly revealed about why it ended. At the same time, another relationship from his Andy Griffith Show days continued attracting attention. Andy shared remarkable chemistry on screen with Annetta Corsaw, who played Helen Crump. According to later accounts, that connection extended well beyond the cameras. The book Andy and Don, The Making of a Friendship, revealed that the two carried on a long-running affair during much of the series, something many people working on the show reportedly knew about. Fortunately, Andy's relationships with other cast members were built on mentorship rather than romance. Ron Howard has often spoken about the encouragement he received while playing young Opie. As a child, he once suggested an idea for an episode, and to his delight, the writers actually used it. Proudly sharing the news with Andy, he was met with Griffith's trademark dry humor, as the veteran actor joked that it was the first good idea before sending everyone back to work. It was exactly the kind of playful encouragement Howard never forgot. Of course, even someone known for his calm demeanor occasionally lost his temper. During the show's 2nd season, viewers noticed Andy wearing a large bandage on his hand. The explanation given on screen involved one of Sheriff Taylor's law enforcement duties, but the real story happened behind the cameras. Griffith had become frustrated, punched a wall, and broken his hand, forcing the writers to work the injury into the series. Despite carrying the show on his shoulders for 8 seasons, one thing always seemed to elude him. Don Knotts earned multiple Emmy Awards for his unforgettable portrayal of Barney Fife. Frances Bavier also received Emmy recognition for her performance as Aunt Bee. Yet Andy Griffith, the man whose name appeared in the show's very title, never received a single Emmy nomination for playing Sheriff Andy Taylor. After years of defining one of television's greatest sitcoms without receiving that recognition, it became clear that the next chapter of his remarkable career was waiting just around the corner: the hidden struggles of a legend. By 1967, Andy Griffith knew it was time to close one chapter and begin another. After spending years as the heart and soul of Mayberry, he decided he was ready to pursue new opportunities, even though CBS desperately wanted another season of The Andy Griffith Show. He didn't simply walk away, though. Griffith remained involved behind the scenes as an executive producer while helping shape the series' next direction. He even returned for a handful of guest appearances, including the memorable episode where Sheriff Andy Taylor finally married Helen Crump. But as successful as his first act had been, repeating that level of success would prove far more difficult. When The Andy Griffith Show ended in 1968 after 8 remarkable seasons, it did so at the very top. It finished as the #1 show in the Nielsen ratings, an extraordinary achievement. Even more impressive, throughout its entire run, the series never fell below 7th place in the ratings. Few television shows have ever enjoyed that kind of consistency. Although the original series came to an end, Mayberry itself wasn't going anywhere. The story continued with Mayberry RFD, a spin-off that kept the familiar town alive while shifting its focus to a new family. Rather than centering on Sheriff Taylor, the series followed widowed farmer Sam Jones and his young son Mike. Andy Taylor appeared early on to marry Helen Crump before stepping into a much smaller role, allowing the new characters to take center stage. Several familiar faces helped make the transition easier for longtime fans. Frances Bavier returned as Aunt Bee, George Lindsay continued playing Goober Pyle, and Jack Dodson once again portrayed Howard Sprague. Even so, without Andy Griffith leading the cast each week, the show inevitably felt different. Meanwhile, Griffith himself began searching for his next great project. The years immediately following Mayberry were surprisingly difficult. In 1972, he launched his own production company and starred in a series of television projects, including Headmaster, The New Andy Griffith Show, and Salvage One. Each one showed promise, but none managed to capture the same magic that had made Mayberry a television institution. His struggles weren't limited to television. Hoping to return to movies, Griffith signed a major multi-picture contract with Universal Studios. The first film, Angel in My Pocket, was supposed to launch an exciting new phase of his career. Instead, it became another disappointment. Griffith disliked the finished film so much that he refused to complete the rest of his contract, creating a serious rift with the studio. Before long, another creative battle emerged. Griffith attempted another television comeback with Adams of Eagle Lake, but almost immediately he found himself at odds with network executives. They envisioned an action-packed series filled with fast-paced chases and excitement. Griffith wanted something much quieter and more character-driven. After filming only 2 episodes, he chose to walk away from the project altogether. Ironically, both episodes had performed well in the ratings, suggesting the audience may have shared his vision. Still, his willingness to take dramatic roles was beginning to earn new respect. In 1981, Griffith surprised audiences by starring in the television movie Murder in Texas. Playing the grieving father of a murder victim was a dramatic departure from the gentle characters people associated with him. The performance earned him his only Primetime Emmy nomination, this time for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a mini-series or movie. Although he didn't win the award, the role opened another important door. A few years later, Griffith appeared as attorney Byron McGregor in the miniseries Fatal Vision. His performance impressed NBC executive Brandon Tartikoff, who immediately saw the potential for an entirely new television series built around Griffith as a courtroom lawyer. There was just one problem. Before that opportunity could become reality, Griffith faced the greatest health challenge of his life. In 1983, doctors diagnosed him with Guillain-Barré syndrome, a rare neurological disorder that temporarily paralyzed him from the knees down. For 7 months, he was unable to walk. The recovery was slow, painful, and uncertain, leaving many to wonder whether he would ever perform again. He refused to let the illness define him. After months of rehabilitation, Griffith returned stronger than ever, stepping into the role that would become the second defining chapter of his career, Ben Matlock. Premiering in 1986, Matlock ran until 1995 and introduced audiences to the sharp-witted Southern attorney whose calm demeanor often hid a brilliant legal mind. Nearly 20 years had passed since the end of The Andy Griffith Show, but Griffith once again found himself leading one of television's biggest hits. What many viewers never realized was how physically demanding the role actually was. Even after recovering from Guillain-Barré syndrome, Griffith still dealt with lingering weakness in his legs. Long courtroom scenes required him to stand for extended periods, often while wearing knee braces beneath his wardrobe. Those dramatic cross-examinations that looked so effortless on screen demanded tremendous endurance behind the scenes. His preparation was equally impressive. Griffith spent countless hours memorizing lengthy courtroom speeches, often carrying notes with him throughout the week and rehearsing entire monologues over the weekend. According to co-star Nancy Stafford, he frequently delivered those demanding scenes flawlessly in a single take, earning spontaneous applause from the crew. While Ben Matlock became famous for enjoying hot dogs, the actor himself had very different tastes. Griffith preferred healthier snacks and regularly requested apple slices with peanut butter on set, making sure they were always available during filming. Interestingly, he didn't immediately warm to the character either. At first, Griffith found Ben Matlock's vanity and frugal personality somewhat unappealing. Over time, however, he grew to appreciate the lawyer's quirks and worked closely with producer Dean Hargrove to shape the character. Griffith wanted to explore more serious, emotionally grounded stories, while Hargrove focused on keeping Matlock approachable and likable. Their compromise ultimately gave the series its distinctive tone. Even during the height of the show's success, Griffith made enormous personal sacrifices. For 6 years, he commuted almost every week between California and his home in Manteo, North Carolina, where he lived with his wife, Cindy Knight. Filming would end on Friday, he'd board a plane home, spend the weekend with his family, and return to California in time for work on Monday morning. It was an exhausting schedule, but one he maintained for years. Eventually, the series faced an obstacle of its own. After 6 successful seasons, Matlock experienced a slight decline in ratings. At the same time, NBC executives began moving away from programs they considered to appeal to older audiences. The network canceled the series, seemingly bringing Ben Matlock's courtroom career to an end. Griffith wasn't ready to say goodbye. Instead of accepting the cancellation, he helped negotiate a move to ABC. He also proposed relocating production to North Carolina, a decision that significantly reduced production costs while allowing him to remain closer to home. The strategy worked, extending Matlock for 3 additional seasons and giving the series the ending it deserved. Around this period, Griffith also found lasting happiness away from the cameras. In 1983, he married actress Cindy Knight, whom he had met through The Lost Colony, the outdoor drama where Griffith himself had once performed years earlier. Unlike his previous marriages, this relationship endured, and the couple remained together for the rest of his life. Despite becoming famous as television's favorite sheriff and lawyer, Griffith never abandoned his first passion, music. Throughout his career, he recorded several gospel and country albums, but one stood above the rest. His 1996 release, I Love to Tell the Story, 25 Timeless Hymns, became a platinum-selling success and earned him a Grammy Award, giving him a level of musical recognition that had eluded him as an actor. Even late in life, his name remained remarkably influential. In 2006, a Wisconsin man legally changed his name to Andrew Jackson Griffith before running for sheriff. Andy believed the move was designed to capitalize on his own fame and filed a lawsuit. The following year, however, a judge ruled against him, deciding that the man's actions were protected under the First Amendment. It was one of the stranger legal battles of Griffith's career, with the real Andy Griffith ultimately losing a court case involving someone using his own name. Through it all, he continued facing life's challenges with the same quiet resilience that had always defined him. In 2000, he underwent quadruple bypass surgery and recovered successfully. 7 years later, he fractured his hip after a fall, but once again fought his way back. Then, in 2012, came the final chapter. After suffering a heart attack, Andy Griffith passed away the following morning at the age of 86. The saddest episode of Andy Griffith that was banned. Few episodes of The Andy Griffith Show have divided fans quite like the return of Barney Fife. For many longtime viewers, it stands as the saddest episode the series ever produced. Some have even dismissed it as unnecessarily heartbreaking, wondering why the writers chose to put one of television's most beloved characters through so much pain. pain. Yet for others, that's exactly what makes it unforgettable. Originally airing as the 13th episode of Season 6, the story appears to promise a joyful reunion. With Don Knotts returning as Barney Fife, audiences naturally expect plenty of laughs and the familiar chemistry that made the early years of the show so special. But instead of delivering non-stop comedy, the episode takes an unexpectedly emotional turn. It also marks the final appearance of Betty Lynn as Barney's longtime sweetheart, Thelma Lou, making the story even more meaningful. What begins as a simple class reunion soon becomes something much deeper. The episode centers around Mayberry Union High School's 20th reunion for the class of 1948. Andy, Barney, and Thelma Lou all belong to that graduating class, so Barney makes the trip back from his new job in Raleigh, North Carolina. At first, everything feels comfortably familiar, almost as though no time has passed. Then Barney learns that Thelma Lou will also be attending the reunion. As the story unfolds, viewers discover that after Barney left Mayberry, Thelma Lou eventually moved away as well. But with both of them returning for the reunion, Andy can't help but wonder if fate is giving Barney one last chance. Maybe, just maybe, he's finally ready to settle down with the woman who had waited for him all those years. Barney certainly seems to believe so. To him, the reunion becomes more than a chance to reconnect with old friends. It feels like an opportunity to reclaim the future he never took seriously. Then reality arrives with crushing force. When Thelma Lou finally appears, Barney learns that she grew tired of waiting for him. She moved on with her life, found someone who truly valued her, and got married. The disappointment on Barney's face says everything. Don Knotts barely needs words to communicate the heartbreak, making it one of the most emotional moments in the entire series. The episode clearly invites sympathy for Barney, but it also asks viewers to remember the road that led him there. As lovable and hilarious as Barney always was, he rarely treated Thelma Lou the way she deserved. Throughout the black and white seasons, he constantly kept her waiting while chasing distractions. There was Juanita on the telephone, the famous Fun Girls, and countless moments where Barney seemed more interested in his own ego than in building a future with the woman who loved him. Even when he accepted his job in Raleigh, Thelma Lou never seemed to be part of his plans. Because of that, the episode feels bittersweet rather than simply tragic. Barney suffers a painful reality check, but Thelma Lou finally receives the happiness she had earned after years of patience. In many ways, her ending feels just as satisfying as his is heartbreaking. Of course, longtime fans know the story doesn't end there. In the 1986 reunion movie Return to Mayberry, Barney and Thelma Lou eventually marry, giving audiences the happy ending many had hoped for all along. It just took far longer than anyone expected. The episode also arrived during an important turning point for the series. Season 6 was the first filmed in color, and many devoted fans have always preferred the original black and white years. For them, something about Mayberry's charm changed with the transition, making the later seasons feel noticeably different. Still, the return of Barney Fife remains memorable because of the lesson at its heart. Time doesn't wait for anyone, and the people who love us won't wait forever either. Barney spent years assuming Thelma Lou would always be there, only to discover that opportunities, once lost, don't always come back. Combined with remarkable performances from Don Knotts, Andy Griffith, and Betty Lynn, the episode leaves a lasting impression that extends far beyond its final scene. It may be the saddest chapter in the Andy Griffith Show, but it's also one of its most honest. More than anything, it reminds viewers to appreciate the people who stand beside them while they still have the chance. Because taking someone for granted can lead to a regret that lasts a lifetime.